Okay, hello guys. Thank you for inviting me. Actually, this is one of my very first Devcon. Unlike my partner in crime here, he has been in the company ever since. I think I'm closing my 6 months here, and my boss here is watching me. So, yeah, hopefully I'll do a great job. Thank you for inviting me to this big party. So, like today, our presentation is actually not really a presentation because we want to be interactive. We want to listen to you guys, and we want to also show you guys a little bit that yes, we're still here for Analytics Cloud. And yeah, today what we'll be touching on would be what we actually have been working for the past year. When you guys haven't been hearing from us, what we are working on and what we are actually going for the future state of Analytics Cloud. And one of the most important initiative that I invited my partner here today is to explain to you guys also the machine learning content recommendation. We'll go a little deep dive on that. And if we have time, we are able to do a demo. Then if not, we'll show you guys a video so that we don't make any errors. Just kidding. So, yeah. So I will start off by sharing with you guys what we have actually done over the past year. So one of the biggest, I would say, accomplishment that we have done for the past years is that when we are seeing the Analytics Cloud, we are getting more clients and we are actually working on enhancing the data reliability on our overall system. So we have been moving from Elasticsearch to Google BigQuery for the past year. We have migrated our entire backend infrastructure that allowed us to improve the scalability for the product. So we see the potential in analytics products, and we are also figuring out our position within Liferay solution. So that allowed us to leverage the advanced analytics tools and enhance our ability to extract insights and make data-driven decisions. What's more, for the support of the complex SQL queries and the predictable queries response time that allows us to improve the overall performance of the product. So what we are saying here is that we are building the foundation so that we build a confidence for you to retrust on this product again. So right now, we're able to handle the large data set and the variable incoming traffic patterns. And last but not least, it also helps us to reduce the infrastructure's cost. So why is that also important in our development is that we're able to allocate that cost into developing new features that would actually benefit the community. So what has it actually done to our architecture? So we have Marcellus here to share with you guys a little bit about what we have done.
So as guys can imagine, replacing like a data store is not something very trivial. And we basically had to redesign a lot of our components to make it happen, right? So this is like show a little bit like a simplified version of what we currently have right now on AC running. You can see here the boundaries are basically regional deployments. We have one of these replicas per region. And on the top side, you're going to see elements that interact with AC. So the left side is the end users. So basically, like imagine like end users interacting to a website. And they basically, they get like a JavaScript get loaded on the browser, right? And then those JavaScript piece, the JavaScript SDK, they start sending data to AC, and that's where these lines come from. So web activities, things that we track by default are coming to AC on that way. In the middle, we have some connectors and some codes in the DXP that's also send data to AC. I wanted to just pinpoint two. One is the data exporters. So we have code in DXP that sends user data, rows. Basically, all the DXP data model gets sent to AC in a batch job way. And here are the application users that interact with the analytics website that also request data from the system, right? Let's see. So all this data come into this, what we're calling here as AC services, which is like a bunch of microservices running in the cloud that either receive data or respond to user requests, right? They can come from different sources. They come from DXP requesting data to synchronize, for example, segments from AC back to DXP. And those microservices are responsible for managing those requests. And whenever a request comes into those services that we deploy, so a couple of things can happen, right? Either we go directly to a data store or to a BigQuery, or those data can get pushed to like a message systems to later processing. Once the data is in the BigQuery, there is a bunch of data processors that manages those raw data into insights eventually. That's just the big picture. Okay, here is the JavaScript SDK in action. So whenever you have like a website tracked by AC, you're gonna notice some activities happening. By default, we track page views, asset views, clicks, page scrolls. Yeah, there's a bunch of default tracking happening on a typical website. And this is the payload we usually send. Like there is a contextual information on the payload, like the page you are, whatever language you're using, and a bunch of events that get sent on that particular page, for example. Yeah. So this is the data export. I mentioned the other subsystem that resides on the DXP side. We are leveraging the dispatch framework and the batch framework for sending those data in. So whenever there is a delay of every hour, and then basically we export those data into a zip file, gzip file actually to be exact. And then that zip file gets uploaded to AC. And that's how you synchronize the information from the DXP in order to provide like individual resolutions or profiles about users that are accessing the website. Of course, we use that as part of the recommendation as well. So once we process the recommendations, these batch frameworks, the DXP import, we will import the recommendations data back to the DXP. So this is what I mentioned, it's the custom services. So it's a bunch of like Java applications running on the cloud that are mainly responsible for processing those requests, right? So the requests can come from the events when you are accessing the website. Those events get sent in from the browser to AC. And then those endpoints are getting that data and pushing to PubSub, for example. Those are they're responsible for managing lots of the APIs. That could be internal APIs or external APIs. End users, you can get like tokens to access AC data, or you can just use as part of the DXP system, right? So the DXP is constantly communicating to AC to synchronize data in. And of course, those endpoints are also responsible for managing the data from the website, right? So analytics.liferay.com is a website you can see to see the dashboards, the reports, and of course this data that you see on the screen are coming from those custom services. So this is another important component from the AC. So this is the event ingestion pipeline. So it's a very important one because it basically captures all the activities coming from the browsers, right? So we wrote that in the Apache Beam framework, which is a way of representing your transformations in a agnostic way of runtime. And basically, this is like a representation of what we're doing right now. So we read data from PubSub, and you can see in the bottom, we write the data to the BigQuery. So this is, and there is some enrichment phase in the between. And of course, there is a session computation, which is a key component in several analytics reports, which is the session concept, right? And the Apache Beans offers a way of computing those sessions in a very straightforward way, and we'll leverage that. And for runtime, we are using the data flow, which basically we can write the Apache Bean code, and we can deploy that to the data flow, which manages like scaling problems to us. So there's several metrics that are observed by the data flow runtime to able to scale or downscale the pipeline as needed. Okay. So this is the data processor I meant. So this is a big box of several jobs that run in the background. Mostly they are batch jobs. We are using mostly BigQuery for processing those now after the migration. We also leverage Spark in some cases, but they're mostly like responsible for creating those reports, right? So we get the raw data, but how do we process the raw data into those meaningful metrics? So these are batch jobs that run on schedule that computes every metric that we have on AC. Go back a little bit. So we have also segmentation, right? Segmentation is also another important piece of the AC. You can create like constraints based on your data, and you can derive the right audience based on those constraints. So we have also interest discovery. So based on, of course, on the data you are receiving, you can interpret we can derive some interest based on for the audience, depending on the page they are visiting. We can derive some scores, and that, of course, that can use it as part of the segmentation system. And of course, recommendations, we're going to go deeper later on, and A/B testing as well. And of course, for managing all those batch jobs, we are leveraging the Apache Airflow with the Composer. Composer is the runtime for Apache Airflow. And for those that are not very familiar, Apache Airflow is a way of defining those workflows, right? So you write them in a DSL, and then you can define those tasks and the relationship between those tasks. It's a very straightforward way of defining those. So we have one DAG per job that we run, and then therefore, and of course, Composer offers a way of monitoring those jobs. There is a very reliable way of retrying any failing jobs that happens, and alerting our team in case we need to take some action, right? So this is an example of the DXP ingestion. So once we get the data from the DXP, so you're gonna see that lots of things happens here. So we import the data into the BigQuery, and then we start doing a lot of merges in order to make the data consistent in the analytics cloud side.
So thank you, Marcellus. It's because we are very enthusiastic working on the migration. That's why you see that he was spending most of the time to skip the demo at the end. I'm just kidding. But what we also have done is that for the past year, we have also added additional product capabilities that would be related actually to where we're going, and we're trying a little bit here. So for example, we have enhanced our data portability because we believe that the data shouldn't be owned by us, but the clients themselves. So we have added this ability to export and download your data either through export API, so then you're able to connect that with any other system. You are also able to, for example, just download the PDF of the dashboard that you want to share with the stakeholders, or even download it as CSVs that you're able to import it to any other system afterwards. So this is one of the major things that we have done through the past year. And another additional capabilities we have worked on is to enhance our segmentation as well. So the reason that we're doing that is that we also believe that the analysis should be customized. It shouldn't be anything just out of the box, but should also be having dynamics attributes or the custom events that you are able to actually customize your analysis based on your need. So we have worked on enhancing the segmentation, and right now we are able to use, for example, individual user attributes that benefits the system, user membership, any session properties such as URLs, geolocation, etc. Also, on top of the out-of-the-box behavioral data, you are also able to use the custom events that based on your user case to create any analysis. So last but not least, another capability that we have introduced is the contextual insight. So we believe that when you're working on the CMS, on the content, there is no reason that you should leave your workflow, go to another dashboard and do the analysis. So even for just quick analysis. So what we have also worked on is to allow the performance metrics to be shown in the CMS content dashboard. So this is just the initiative of that we have worked on this year, but more to come for where we're going after. So for all these improvements, where does that lead us? Where does it lead to Analytics Cloud to? So I haven't joined the company for a long time, and we actually spent weeks or months to work on how we should actually position ourselves. So before we were thinking about, okay, we're not as easy to collect data like in Google Analytics or any other solution, you name it. So we spent months to figure out that we actually, as the DXP in-house analytics solution, should work on our ecosystem. We should work on the benefits. We should have the full leverage of the DXP ecosystem. So what does that mean? So for Analytics Cloud, where we're going is that we are the most native analytics solution that you can think of for Liferay, which we empower the DXP users at every stage of their workflow. So it is a very nice slogan, but what does that actually mean? So the full leverage on Liferay DXP ecosystem. So for number one, since we know that we have been developing for DXP for the clients, for the websites, we, as the in-house analytics solution, should also support the complex and the headless nature of Liferay DXP solutions. So this is one of the most important things that we are working on right now, is for us to be able to actually get the data within the DXP system that you're able to support the users throughout every stage of the development. And the tailored insights to connect the dots for DXP users. So we are not competing with any marketing solutions out there, but we want to provide this intelligence layer so that when you are, or the users are using DXP, you're actually able to know how the system talk to each other, how many times your content has been used, and for exactly the users of DXP. Third is that we should enable customization of the data analysis, which means that on top of something that is default for the dashboard, we also would work on enabling the customization so then the analysis should be yours. You can just make use of us as a tool to work on any customization of analysis of dashboard, etc. And last but not least, we also understand the ownership of data shouldn't be on us, but on the client themselves. So we want to work on the flexibility to connect the users to actually the existing tech stack, so then they're able to use the data to make decisions at every stage and at different systems. So here we bring to you the initiative that we are working on for the coming year. So the first one, as I mentioned, is to facilitate data collection. So we all know that there are some limitations in terms of collecting data through the DXP system. So now we are working on this scalable tracking of the DXP custom structure, which means that in terms of collecting the user interaction of the website, we want to work on the user control over which properties. For example, if we are talking about test property on a content, the author, the description, etc., we want to let the user actually control what assets that they want to track or what properties of the asset they want to track for the custom structure. And for the events triggered, should it actually be a view when they view the entire content, or should it actually be considered as something like impression when they're just looking through or loading the description itself? And we will work on the structured level and page level tracking. So what does that mean for you guys is that we want to have this custom analysis made it easy to cater the different solution type. And the second initiative that we are also working on from the contextual insights in the content dashboard is that since we know that there is the new CMS platform coming, and I know that in a lot of presentation, we're going to touch on that part. So what is in that for Analytics Cloud is that we want to integrate this insight targeting also the users of CMS practitioners, which means that they don't have to leave the platform when you are just editing your content, when you're trying to analyze a little bit, having some quick performance information about your metrics, to have this inline insights within the CMS 2.0 platform without actually leaving your existing workflow. So we want to also introduce the internal usage metrics for the global asset management purpose. And also, last but not least, to combine the performance metrics of the end user as well within the same dashboard. So the purpose of that is to really give you a quick analysis when you are within the workflow without going anywhere else. So we get to the personalized experience assistant part, which is what I guess you guys are most excited about, the predictive content recommendation. So what we are doing here is that we want to have the predictive content recommendation actually for you as a setting so that you're able to decide what content in that repository you want to show to your end customers. It will be a simple setting that actually assists your building work for the site. So then you are able to deliver or assist your clients to deliver the personalized content within the repository to the site audience. So based on the dynamic user behaviors, preferences, and other attributes that are actually collected by AC and connected between the DXP system. So we believe that it would be a very important use case for us to actually connect the dots, and also we call it activating the insights that actually deliver faster for when you're doing the job. So we wanted to work on also the assisting this personalized experience and make it easier for all of you. So Marcellus here, we don't have so much time, but then for the rest, we are going to introduce like how or what is the mechanism that we are working on.
Okay, so we understand that recommendation is really important especially for discovering content, right? Which is a fundamental piece in our Liferay ecosystem. And basically, what we're planning to do this year and the next ones is to create a set of tools, especially related to recommendations. Either it can be making more model options available for selection, right? So when you're altering those recommendation models, so you have more options to choose. The way you can tune those models in to get like more fine-grained recommendation for the audience, and of course model analytics. That's something we are deeply interested as well in making sure that not only you can deploy the model you want, but also how this model is affecting the overall engagement and the performance, right, of your business. So those are the three main pillars we'll be delivering this year and throughout the next year. And basically how it works, I mean, it's not it's not rocket science, but basically you have a pool of data, right? Usually you're talking about web contents or documents in general in the Liferay domain. And the way it works is basically you want to select some of those large pool of data into something very refined to the user, right? So it's mainly like a straightforward API pipeline. So you have you want to reduce the scope, right? You want to reduce the amount of data into the most relevant to the audience. So it comes this scoring here. This scoring is basically a way of putting rates and gradings to those contents. So we select the most appropriate one to the audience, right? And re-ranking, it comes after this phase. Once we have the score, we can probably boost or add like a special flavors or special fine-tuning details to the scoring. So you can, for example, promote like new content that you have on your website after the scoring, or like add some contextual informations about, let's say, the page the user is actually browsing. So you can use that information as part of the recommendation system. So there are some techniques here for selecting those contents, right? So the most common ones are those three. So we provide them right now on Liferay. So one is the trending items, which you call is the most read. You can see in a lot of tools, for example, Netflix, for example. There's this top 10 movies you should watch or something. So and it works very simple. There is one metric that you're probably looking like views or ratings, or I mean some metric that you can order, and then you can select the top elements out of it. So and then there is content-based filtering, and the way it works is basically you try to find relationships between those items, right? So let's say you are looking for books about machine learning, and then there's a specific category or genre about those books, and then you try to correlate that to other elements, and then basically those other elements get recommended to you. So it's solely based on those item characteristics. And this one is called collaborative filtering. And the way it works is basically it tries to find relationships between users. So let's say that we have two users here, and they have similar preferences, similar tastes, and then it works based on the assumption that if the users are similar and they read something, the other user is most likely to also enjoy the same content, right? So it's basically try to find those relationships between preferences and items in order to get recommendations out of the box. So this is how it works technically. So you start creating those this big matrix about on the rows you have the users, and on the columns you have the contents or the items, and then basically you try to plot like the rating for that particular user had on that specific item, right? And the way it works, the algorithm is to break that big matrix into two small ones. One about the user's preference, and the other one about the item characteristics. And the algorithm, the machine learning algorithm, tries to find those numbers in. So based on that fact table there, the machine learning starts running, and then try to find this specific numbers that when you multiply the matrix A with the matrix B, you get the numbers over there, right? And this is a very powerful way to do it, because once you have those numbers, that numbers converge, we can basically answer any question marks in there, right? Just by multiplying columns and rows. And finally, the content-based filtering is, as I mentioned, it's all about the item characteristics, and then it works. Basically, the first one is the first step. We're just trying to create a numeric value for those features, and then it can be many features as you want. We offer this as part of the product commerce recommendation. And when we use those characteristics in there, like keywords, topics, for example, color, shape, and those characteristics that represent the item, right? And then we compute a score, like embedding value, for those characteristics. And then basically the algorithm works just by finding distance between those elements. So the smaller the distance, more likely the items are related to each other, and then of course they get recommended. For the user, right? So, and this is just like an example in the Amazon how it works. So you're browsing books about one specific topic, you're gonna see like recommendations of similar types of books because of course probably they use the same. They are part of the same category here.
So we make the demo offline. So if any one of you wanted to see this, since we don't have time for it, please look for the both of us. We promise that we won't be avoiding you guys. So just look for us, and then we will show you guys. It actually worked. We did that in the demo and also showed that multiple times. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.